Go ahead. Go.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the October 24th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing is our minutes from last week. Gentlemen, do we have any additions or corrections?
I don't.
Okay,
I move to approve the proceedings of Board of County Commissioners for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023 for Montezuma County as presented.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, October 17th, 2023. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and next up is planning, which I see no planners in here today, so it looks like we have a day off, and I'm sure they're getting ready for something. So we're going to go right into public comment. Will I have any public comment today? Okay, well, we're going to skip right on that then, and we're going to go into our department reports. Ms. Hargrave, you are first up. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. You guys want to just take care of these right off?
Yeah. I would so move we accept the minutes of the regular session of the Board of Social Services for September, what date in September?
25th.
25th, 2023, and also the financials for the Social Service Department in the amount of, he's clicking,
She's bringing us the hard copy.
okay,
Lori's coming.
$1,254,676.97.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the record of proceedings for the Social Services Department for September 25th, 2023, and along with the payables in the amount of $1,254,676.97. Any discussion?
No,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is this the one you want signed, Lori, or does Kim have? Okay. All right.
EBT totals are down,
Yes. We had a few cases fall off this month.
yeah.
Yeah. With the PHE unwind and benefits being reduced based on that, some folks won't reapply because they're getting $18 in SNAP benefits or lower amounts that they feel like they just don't want to do that anymore. So we'll see it level off.
There was talk of an increase in SNAP benefits?
There was an increase in SNAP benefits
Okay,
effective October 1st, and we will see a $29 increase in old age pension benefits probably in January of 2024.
okay.
Proceed. That's it.
Yeah, I
Is that-
submitted a written report, thinking that that might be helpful as an overview for all of the different divisions of happenings in each one. I don't really have anything to add to it today unless you have questions on anything you observed or saw. Caseloads remain high in our eligibility unit. I did want to point out, if we just looked at the Medicaid assistance caseload, there's 5,712 open cases, and that's approximately 12,200 individuals. So it's a high portion of our population in Montezuma County
That's a lot.
that are eligible for Medicaid and receiving it. So it's nice to kind of put that into some kind of perspective for you all. But the first section is all eligibility, so all of our economic security programs, CCAP's our child care. Colorado Works is that TANF basic cash assistance section. Then you have our Medicaid food assistance caseloads, and then our adult financial caseloads. 138 cases right now that are active. Our investigations unit, that's our fraud unit. And so that will give you an overview of what's coming in for fraud for the month prior. So in August, we received 10,800. In September, we received 3,460. One of the reasons there's such a large discrepancy between the two is that in August, somebody came in and paid off their entire debt in one lump sum versus the monthly payments that many of them do right now.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Our child support, we have a traveling road show coming up. So myself, the entire CSS unit, and Stephen will be at the courthouse on the 3rd learning about child support services and how best practices across the state, how we want to start administrative process. So it'll be a great opportunity. And that shows you our total income of child support monthly, so $101,000. And all of those that come in go out, so there's no fees or percentage that the department keeps, so everything that comes in goes out, which is great for those parents that are receiving that child support.
Is that pretty much, is everybody kind of doing the right thing with child support now, or are you still having to hunt, I guess, is
Yeah.
a term?
Yeah, we have to hunt some. Some are doing what they can. Some ask for modifications. Some are hit and miss. So for instance, they will pay for a couple months and then they won't pay for a couple months. Some of those enforcement remedies will then automatically click, like driver's license. So if you miss your monthly support obligation, that will automatically click. You'll get a letter that says, hey, your driver's license is gonna be put on suspension if you don't pay X amount or what you owe. Most of the time they'll call and say, hey, don't take my driver's license, let's figure this out. And they'll pay for a period of time, but unfortunately, there's always gonna be a handful that aren't paying at all. We can't find them, we can't locate them, nothing's coming up on any of our databases, and so it can get a little tricky.
Okay.
The next section's our child welfare team. I wanted to give you a great overview. The child welfare team did attend a camp training, that's all virtual. It was a week long, it was really great. They had some unique offerings from all over the country and talked a lot about what other child welfare systems are doing. And then it really shows you an overview of the number of referrals that are coming in monthly, the number that are being screened in. And when I put screened in, that really means the number of referrals that are meeting the threshold of the statutory guidelines of abuse and neglect. So those come in and we will go out and see those families. Number of cases is 29, so that's how many cases we have open where we're providing services to families. 18 children in out-of-home placements, 5 in adoptive homes. And then our out-of-home placement rate, the state wants to see that at 3.5 when we're hovering right around 3.7. Some of those that are open still because we're waiting for appellate court decisions or other things that kind of complicate. And then the last one is the facilitation of supervised visits there, that 96. So for the month of September, the department facilitated 96 supervised visits. And I thought that was nice information for you all to be aware of.
How long are those visits? An hour?
Some are an hour, some are 2, some are 30 minutes. It just really varies depending on the day.
Average of an hour?
I would say an average of an hour. It's pretty fair. And then the last section is adult protection. We've seen a rise in financial exploitation referrals, so we'll focus on getting some training in regards to that in the coming fiscal year. Every time we have one of those, law enforcement accompanies us and they work that aspect as we work to try to figure out what other resources that person needs. There's new federal regulations, rule proposals coming down from the feds. They won't take effect this year, it'll be likely next year, but it'll provide some standardization for adult protection services across the United States that currently doesn't exist. Some of those things we're already doing, and so we're way ahead of the game. For instance, agreements with law enforcement agencies, district attorneys, the ombudsman that provides services to the elderly. We already have MOUs and arrangements for how we collaborate. Some of the other things will be interesting. They want to do some caseload studies and ratios that could potentially increase the need for staff and already an underfunded allotment from the state. So it'll be interesting to see how all of those things roll out. As you all are aware, adult protection is underfunded by the state substantially.
I was, you know, it was last year, I think it was, at a CCI meeting, and they were putting out statistics, and, you know, our ratio of, I don't want to say elderly, but people over the age of 65 is greater than the ratio of people under 18, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yet our percentages and ratios don't show that. You know, we have a far bigger child welfare portion than we do adult protection.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I can't even explain how they come up with the equations for what they give you for your child welfare allocation. They have a subcommittee, I participate in it, but they get to determine what child welfare gets and
Right.
the allocation and how different counties are weighted, and it's based on your open cases and your number of referrals and how much you've spent the year before, what your child population is, what your poverty rate is, type of thing, but they don't do the same for adult protection.
And, you know, I don't disagree with that, but, you know, our kids need more protection but our adults do too.
Our adults do too. And absolutely, I think that our adults need it. The fact that it's underfunded is an issue, and Montezuma County is just under resources for our older, vulnerable adult population. There's not a ton of options for when somebody needs additional support in the home. You know, it's fairly limited on what we can do.
There's also just less reporters for adult protection. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of our child protection cases come from mandatory reporters, be it schools or counselors, and I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
exploited adults just don't have that. I mean, that was my experience. A lot of times that stuff just flies under the radar because who's looking for it?
Yeah, and that's a great point. We do have mandatory reporters in adult protection, but it is limited, and if those adults aren't accessing services or seeing people, then nobody knows.
Right.
And we do get some of those referrals where somebody accidentally has seen something and that person hasn't seen a physician or family or accessed any service in the community in years. And so we do see that, but statistically, you can see we get about 12 referrals a month. We have 32 ongoing cases, and that means we've opened things up to investigate and link people with services. We have 3 guardianships. We closed 6 cases in September, and we have 12 rep payee cases that we have open. But yeah, that's the broad overview of what the department has been up to, or was up to in September.
Appreciate it.
Looks good.
Okay,
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Okay, I don't see Miss Locke in here, so I'm gonna jump down to Frank. I see Frank.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Frank.
Stay.
Hi.
It's not going to stay.
Hook the legs over the back end of the. There we go.
Gotcha. All right. Good morning. Today's report is going to be for September. Page 1. All right, September 2023 financial report. Permanent salaries $3,076.92. Fringe benefits, $1,350.92. Operating expense, $258.54. Public outreach, $1,767.95. Telephone is $40. Dues, training, and travels, $25. For a total of $6,519.33. The September official activity, or office activities, excuse me. Appointments for September 2022 comparison. There was 103 last year this time in September. Appointments for this year, 2023, 115. Which put my office up by 12. The stand down had 400, give or take, veterans and spouses. Total telephone calls, 384. Total emails, 71. Had 2 outreach events. For a total served, 971. New clients and visitors, there was 10 to the office for September. Total for this year is 61. There was no home visits or no nursing home visits. And I filed 16 claims. Claim highlights. There was 11 decisions for September. 7 were favorable, 3 unfavorable / denied, 1 confirmed continued. So out of those 11, all the decisions were from this year. All the claims that were submitted and decided on were all this year. So there are still some outstanding. For 2019, there's still 1 appeal. For 2020, there's 2 appeals still outstanding. And 2022, there's 3 appeals. And 2022 disabilities, there's still 2 outstanding. The reason for those, I looked into them. A lot of it has to do with, of course, appeals. There's a huge docket on appeals, over 200,000 in the state of Colorado.
Oh, man.
And of course, just like our court system, you get put on the docket, and when it's your turn, that's when you go in front of the judge and plead your case. For the disabilities, there has been, I wouldn't say an issue, but a concern with some of the contract examiners. And the concern is they're setting our veterans to go into different states, such as California.
That's not right.
No. So I've been on the horn with the state VSO, with some of the higher-ups in the VA, and telling them, look, you need to get the contract examiners basically under control.
Because they can get to them quicker? Or, I mean, it's not a mandate that they have to go to out of state. Is it just?
No, what they're saying is that they have nobody that specializes in that field in this area. But, I mean,
Gotcha.
California, that's a long drive. And I had a concern with a veteran that started on that drive and,
Yeah.
you know, pretty much had medical issues and couldn't make the drive, so he had to turn around, and I had to jump through the hoops to get all the, you know, all his exams rescheduled.
Do they compensate these folks for that drive?
They do, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the company itself, LHI, QTC, VES, and this new one, Optum, that's where most of the concerns are coming from, because according to VA, they're supposed to schedule within 100 miles, which is reasonable. But they're scheduling in different states. And VA is like, that's a concern for VA, because it's not right to have a veteran travel that distance for a 10 to 15 minute appointment, even though they're getting compensated for it. The VA feels that that is not the way it should be done. So they're looking at revamping all that. I haven't gotten any word on, you know, where they are in the process of getting that change done, but it's in the works. Let's see, for monthly indirect income to the county for September, new payments, 8,726.33. New annual total, 87,428.26. New retro is 19,826.14. And the last page is just a copy of the report I send to the VA, which indicates that I put in 190 hours of per week. There's at least a week's waiting time to get people into the office unless I have somebody cancel. And the numbers reflect what I just covered. We did have our stand down in September. Very good event, a lot of people. The individuals that came in wanted the information. They were concerned about getting the information, concerned about where they need to go to get this taken care of or that taken care of. I had a bigger increase at my table than the year before, and I don't know what the reason for that is. Part of it was because of the VA is changing things within the claim system. Part of that is they're trying to get claims done quicker, which runs into an issue because of all the new employees that the VA has. They are denying claims or taking away from the veteran's disability when they shouldn't be doing that. So I've done quite a few statements to the VA in reference to those veterans' concerns, and some of them have been addressed, some of them they're regrouping everything. So you got a sciatic nerve injury, for instance, and a lower back injury. That is now considered to be in the same group. So one of them is dropped. Uh-oh. Okay. So one of them is dropped, and because they're both in the back area, so they drop the lower of the two, and they keep the one. So a lot of the veterans are losing on their disability, and they want something done about it, but unfortunately, the way the M21-1 is written, nothing can be done about it because it's all in the same group. I mean, I've got people that have, severe asthma, and they go on a CPAP machine, and the severe asthma disability drops. It's still there, but it's no longer counted within the score for their rating. And then the CPAP is put up above that because it's got a higher rating. And there's a lot of veterans that are complaining about that, but because of the VA regulations, there's not much that can be done about it. Other than that, everything's going as smooth as possible. The VA just updated the Tyler Tech system, which made a concern for me because I lost a couple of people, so I had to re-input everything and get VA to send me all the stuff that was in their files because it was just lost out of our system here. So I had to rebuild a couple of them, but other than that, the transition was smoother. They did change a lot of little things within the program that when you get ready to submit the claim to VA, it kicks it out because now they added those little things that VA doesn't recognize. So that means you got to go back into the claim, fix those, and then resubmit it, which takes me a little bit longer to get it done, but they're getting done. That's all I have for today.
All right, very good. Questions?
Upcoming events, isn't there kind of a parade in a couple weeks?
Thank you. For November, there is the Veterans Parade is coming up November 11th, right on Montezuma, starting at, I believe lineup is at noon, and the parade actually takes off at 1 o'clock. And then throughout the county, there's different events going on. I know the Elks Club has a brunch or a lunch going on that day. I know American Legion has several different events going on that day, starting at 7 a.m. for breakfast, and then they got lunch and dinner.
I think Legion have a ceremony that morning, I believe. Yeah,
Along with the breakfast. Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah.
It's good to know. And I know I checked on the Humvees. Both Humvees from the one from the Sheriff's Department and one from my office, they're both going to be in the event. I do have some water bottles that I'll be passing out at the event that didn't come in for the stand down because there was a mistake on the vendor's part. And so they had to be redone, and then the new one shipped back. It was a whole big old thing, but you don't need to hear that. But I do have some water bottles that I'm going to be passing out to promote my office. And in reference to the Sierra National, I haven't heard anything yet. I reached out to my point of contact. She hasn't gotten back with me. I know there was a couple of people that were going through the process of getting hired, so I haven't met with them yet, so I don't know where we're at on that. I'm going to try again this morning to get in touch with them and see where they're at in that process.
Okay,
Anything else?
No,
good enough.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
You're welcome. Thank you.
Frank. Jennifer. Come on down.
Good morning.
morning.
So just a little bit about what's going on with senior services. So transit, we did 730 rides last month. We also will be forwarding on, I'll be forwarding on, I don't know who we is, the contract for the feasibility studies. I got it yesterday, so I'm going to forward it on to you guys, and then hopefully we can look at it next week. The contract for the bus is finally going to be here, so I'll get that out when I get that. And then I haven't found a bus yet for what I was looking for. That wasn't 2,000 miles away. So I'm still looking for a 14, 15 passenger bus or van.
Well, the van, yeah.
Right. And so the other thing too is I was talking to the people from Compass that are going to do our feasibility studies, and one of the lady that works with him was talking about maybe doing some advertisement on the buses. I'm going to get them wrapped. I have that in the works. I'm hoping we get those all done. The new one will come in wrapped. But she was talking about doing some kind of, especially on the fixed route, bus or buses, putting some advertisement on it to where we can kind of get some income that way too. So I thought that was an excellent idea. So that's kind of transit. And then the senior center, we served 1,100 meals last month. Congregate, we did 366. The Meals on Wheels, we did 734. It's for a total customer count of 158. We are getting more and more people in for lunches, which is nice. People are starting to come back, and I go out there and eat with them, to show them that I'm there, and kind of see what's going on and listen for the feedback on the meals and that kind of thing. And a couple of the people have told me that they like that because I'm involved, basically. I am going to do the same thing with Mancus and Dolores. I went to Dolores once. I need to go to Mancus. And then the Mancus Senior Center, I'm hearing probably the middle of November is supposed to be done, hopefully. So, but we do have Wednesdays and Fridays that we're doing meals at the Grange in Mancus now. So we're only missing one day over there. So, but as far as that goes. Do you guys have any questions?
Go ahead.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
And I had a phone call and I'd reached out to Travis, and I don't know if he was able to get to you, but it basically came from Dolores. Because everything that we do is digital. I mean, our world is a digital world, and the communication that we have is all digital. So I was trying to explain to this lady that, you know, the information is there, but they're not getting it, and I understand that. So
Which
is there a
which-
different way to communicate with them? I mean, do we still?
It
can we
doesn't make sense that she's not getting it because the lady brought them over there, brought the newsletters over there. So we're implementing where we, kind of like transit, we have to have, you know, certain items that we get from these people as far as their addresses, phone numbers, that kind of thing. And so I'm hoping maybe we can start getting email addresses, because I think that may help.
I think the issue is that a lot of them either, one, don't have it, or they won't look at it. I mean,
And that's true,
I'm just trying to,
yeah.
my question is there a way that we can communicate with them at least monthly, whether it's going over there, like you were just saying, independently in each senior service? Because the conversation I had with her, that's basically what it was.
Right.
Was that
And that's the same
we're old,
conversation.
was the statement, and we don't
Right.
want to look at email, and we don't want to look at a digital format.
Right.
And I understand that, but, you know, I
And
don't
that's
want to
the-
leave them totally out of the mix of, and even if they were, you know, it was broadcast to them in person, if they didn't write it down or they forgot, how do they, I don't know, I'm just asking a question that was brought to my attention.
Right, and
That's all I'm
I
asking.
had asked her the same question, and I talked to her about it as well. And what I told her was, look, you know, maybe what needs to happen is I just come over for lunch once a month at the beginning, which I was planning on doing anyway for Mankus and Dolores. But, you know, if I come over and I actually deliver those to them, because I told her, I said, I want to make sure that you guys are informed, because, you know, we do senior trips and we do this kind of thing. And that's where we put it, is in the newsletter, you know. Or, you know, I've also said maybe I need to do some flyers for certain events to get to them, might be a little better. But yeah, Dolores has, it, for the last couple of years or so, has kind of felt left out. And I don't want them to feel that way, because they're a part of it, just like Mankus or Cortez is.
You
So-
just, I mean, you've been, we see you off and on, but you're still getting established, you know, to get around.
And that's what I kind of told her. I said, let me, you know, I'm still getting my feet wet.
Yeah.
I said, I've only been on it, well, at that point, 2 months, I think, or, you know, not quite, it's not even been quite 3 months. I said, so just, you know, give me a chance. I want to make sure that everybody that is out there is informed about what
So-
we're doing.
I'm going to ask, I think they meet on Mondays and Wednesdays in Dolores,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you'd like to go Monday, I would love to go with you. And
Absolutely.
we can talk to them if you could set that up.
Absolutely, I can do that.
Just so that we can kind of give them, you know, the information that we have for the month, and then see if we can figure out a way with them. Because we can send the information, but if you don't receive it, it's
Exactly.
like it never happened.
Right.
So we just
And our
gotta
cook
figure
has
out
been
something
out
else.
too. It's been volunteers that have been doing the cooking over there because she had some medical thing. So she's been out, and so I haven't really been able to contact her a whole lot, you know, so, but that's absolutely, I will do that, because I
Okay.
think that's a good idea. I'm planning on going Wednesday tomorrow to Mankus, because we are going over there to do the Ever Bridge,
Mhm.
kind of just, you know, letting them know about it. I did that last Friday with our people, our customers, and so I want to do that for Dolores too. But like I said, the volunteers, it's a little harder to get a hold of them than it is to, you know, the cook. The cook is on payroll, obviously. But yeah, I would love to do that. So Monday I will plan on.
So plan on it,
Yep.
set it up, and then send me an email or a text or something, and I'll plan on it before our meeting Monday. I'll just go over there with you and we'll talk to the seniors.
That'd be great. They eat at 12.
Okay.
So I will do that. And then, kind of on top of what you guys were talking about, real quick, I wanted to mention that with the APS, the Adult Protection Services,
I was going to ask you if you linked with them.
we do and we don't. So we do get a lot of times, our clients will be, they'll go for a long period of time without contacting us or, that kind of thing. And we try to reach out to them because some of these people are by themselves and don't have anybody to help them. And some of them do, but they're not being helped or being taken care of. So there's been a time or two that I have called Adult Protection about certain situations. I just want to, as far as I'm concerned, we're a mandatory reporter as well because we do have contact with these people. So I think I'll get with, what's her name?
Kelly.
Kelly, thank you. And see what we can do to kind of coordinate that with them because we do get, times, we had one that didn't contact us for a week and we checked on them and they had passed away and they were still they were at a motel, so, it's one of those things that we should be trying to help them with this stuff.
Yeah, I would think Meals on Wheels would be really important.
Mm-hmm. And I do have an outreach person.
Yeah.
And she tries to get to everybody to get, because we want to get their information, we want to get, all that stuff. And so we talked about her at least doing a couple of people, maybe twice a week to go out and talk to them and see how they're doing and that kind of thing. So anytime we get new people, she does that too. So, yeah, we do have that. So,
All right.
Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Any other
I'll
questions?
plan on that for Monday.
Okay, I
All right.
will let you know for sure. We'll just plan on it, but I'll send you a
Yeah.
text or an email.
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emily, is Bobby coming today or? Okay. Well, we'll let Miss Lockhart go next. She had a lot of beautiful pictures for us.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay. I tried to number them to make Travis's life easier and keep them in order. So, yeah, and their 4-H kiddos living their best lives. So here, this is a picture of the 4-H homecoming float. So kids were able to decorate that and ride in that float with that green machine that folks can rent out, and then a portion of that rental fee goes to 4-H. So that's really awesome. Then for National 4-H Week, there was a window contest. So kids were decorating for their clubs of different windows all over the county. So that was really cool. And then Tierney did Tour de 4-H, which is, was at IFA. And so it was different booths just talking about all about what 4-H is. And that was a way to outreach to the community just to show, different projects that kids can do. And it was a fun way for kids to show off their different projects. So there's a few pictures there, I think, Travis. Yeah, so.
I just want to know if the kid was licking his fingers after feeding the animal or what was going on there. I was kind of curious of that.
I don't have an explanation for that. I'm just sharing the picture. But yeah, wash your hands after touching animals, everybody. So, yeah, so that's that. Great questions. Thank you.
And one other thing that I want to bring back to your attention too, and just so that everybody knows, that mini excavator, if you go back to the first slide, which is great for the community, but that's actually held at Target Rental. And like you said, if you need a mini X for some of your projects that are small at home, they are donating back to 4-H for the community, which is a pretty substantial deal. They have it wrapped. I know it looks like it's covered with balloons right now, but they actually did a whole wrap on it. It actually looks pretty nice. So if you need a mini X for some reason, instead of using a shovel, that's a good way to give back to the 4-H and the community also. So
Yes.
Kudos to Target Rental for doing that.
Thank you for the better explanation. And you are right. It has 4-H all over it, so people know that where that money goes to. So we're very appreciative to them. So that is a little bit of what Tierney has been up to. I didn't include a picture of her helping approximately 9 girls finish their quilt in our office.
I seen that picture, yeah.
Well,
That's great.
so she's working with those girls. I had someone come in for a pressure canning test, and he was just like, this is awesome. I'm just so excited. And, those girls were having so much fun with those quilts. I think Tierney needed a nap afterwards, but the kids were having a lot of fun. So this is something I've been working on is a Colorado Master Irrigator class. And so there is an organization called Colorado Master Irrigator, and they've had courses in the Republican River Basin and then in the San Luis Valley. And folks, it gives kind of a structure for having an in-depth irrigation class for more production agriculture aimed. And so it's a 32-hour course over 4 days. So it'd be like once a week for 4 days. And we have a survey that we've sent out through emails. Some people in this room may have gotten them. And then I talked to Ken Curtis, who kindly sent out a text message to everyone on the Dolores project. So I got some feedback from that. So we're trying to get feedback and then designing the course. And so I'm working with Gus Westerman in Dolores County and then Neva Connolly with High Desert and Mancos Conservation District. And then there's a contact with the Colorado Master Irrigator Program, who she's actually in eastern Colorado, but so she can offer like grant support because they have multiple programs going on. So then we have some funding coming in through the Colorado Conservation Board, and then also applying for some funds through LORE. Because part of this program is that we offer an incentive for a cash incentive for people who complete the program. So it's a way to pay for people's times, farmers and ranchers who are attending this program.
Would the city of Cortez benefit from sending somebody to this because they have a lot of, they put out a lot of irrigation in their parks?
Yeah, I guess this is probably more aimed at
Agriculture?
Agriculture.
Okay.
So they might benefit from every year the conservation districts work with NRCS on an irrigation management, and it's just like a one-day course that goes over the basics of like how do you measure soil moisture and how are you irrigating to your root depth, things like that. But I'd be happy to talk to them about what might meet their needs. So this might be a little bit different. I mean, you could calculate evapotranspiration, and
Right.
water demand of your lawn, but I think this is going to be more aimed at cropping systems.
Okay.
Like side rolls and center pivots. And we've had a meeting before where we're trying to figure out how do we address, all different types of irrigation. So it's like, gated pipe, side rolls, and center pivots are the main ones that we're thinking of for now. And it could be in the future that there could be like, say we hold this closer to Cortez, but maybe we had one, if we get interest, one in Mancos that has, a different focus or anyway. So we're open to suggestions. So we're being a little bit broad right now.
Okay. Anything, looking further out, anything for like Ag Expo to do something like this?
To talk about irrigation,
Yeah.
we certainly could. Have like a presentation just about irrigation management. Of the basics,
yeah.
especially for, I know lawn and garden folks, I always encourage them, take a shovel and like literally look at your roots and see, where that water is hitting. And sometimes that can be the most effective.
Yeah. But when I borrowed your plugger over there for a soil test, you can see that.
Yeah, that's illuminating, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, see where the soil moisture is. But yeah.
Or the lack thereof.
Yeah, or the lack thereof. So that's something that I'll be sharing out. It didn't have, maybe I did have it in here. So the ag welding, this is a course that was requested by some farmers in Mancos, and we've been holding this twice a year. I guess this is the 4th class I think that we've done, and it fills up really, really quickly. So we have Rob, who is an instructor out at PCC, who can teach the ag welding portion, and then Bob Bragg, who he helps with kind of the hands-on. We have a safety, really basic class time about welding, and then we get into actually trying different things with welding. So it's really great to have two instructors. I'm not as helpful with welding, but I took the class the first time. So Bob may have insulted my welding skills, but that's okay. So I guess I'll keep my job and not become a welder. But it's a really great class that then people have come back and taken again just to keep their practice up and learn other skills. So happy to start that again today. Then I didn't put this on there, but I did want to mention, so PCC, they have a forestry program that's just been approved. So they're starting that with a focus on wildland forestry. So, educating firefighters, which obviously is very needed. So excited to see that program get going. A few things just briefly about our office. So we're ready to rock and roll to hire a 29-hour-a-week admin, so I'll be sharing that out. And then we're changing our office hours the week of November 6th to 8:30 to 4:30, lunch between 11:30 to 12:30, and then we'll be open Fridays by appointment only with kind of those staffing changes. But that's the plan. Any questions?
Looks good.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I'm curious to see how quickly your ag welding workshop fills up, because, I mean, it's not just for farmers and ranchers, it's for everybody.
Yeah.
It is.
Everybody can
Well, it's full, and
already.
yeah, it's full already. And we'll get people who, like, there was a woman who, she's a jeweler, and she's like, I just want to learn. I guess she's been doing, little tiny kind of welding, and she's like, I really want to learn how to weld. So I guess maybe she's doing soldering.
Soldering.
Yeah.
My wife's interested.
Well, we're full this time, but
How many do you do a year?
we usually do 2, so like 1 in the spring and 1 in the fall.
How about adding 2 more?
Well, it's all based on Rob, our instructor, of what
Okay.
he's willing to do. Yeah, I mean, I've had people who have thought, you should do more of them. And so it's what Rob can manage, because in addition to helping us with this workshop, he's teaching, the semester-long welding courses.
Right.
But he said he really enjoys, and I can say this with adult education, adults who are motivated and want to be there. Sometimes kiddos need a little bit more encouragement. So I think hopefully he finds that interesting. And people ask him really weird questions. Farmers and ranchers have off-the-wall things that they need to weld potentially. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay, thanks,
Very
guys.
good. Thanks, Emily. Okay. Straight into unfinished business, we're gonna jump right into the fire suppression system. Ira, Justin, come on down. We had a bunch of questions yesterday in our workshop. Justin answered,
What he could answer?
yeah, maybe none of them?
I don't know if I was able to answer much, but we got Ira here today, so
Yep, my
he can,
apologies for yesterday.
That's fine.
he can kind of give you guys an overview of their findings from their flow test they did here a while back, and then kind of answer some of those questions that we had yesterday, so.
Sure, just a quick recap. So keeping the dry system throughout the facility flat wouldn't work. We were looking at a tank and a pump. At that time, our engineers didn't understand the water supply, that there was a pressure reducing valve and that there was actually pretty strong water out near the highway. So we did a flow test and looked, if we turn the pressure reducing valve up that feeds the entire campus, can we make the system work as completely dry? And the answer to that is no. So then we explored the option, if we put in a remote FDC, use the hydrant that's off the 12-inch main line and pumped an FDC, could we get the entire system to be compliant using that mechanism? The answer is yes, but with extensive modifications to the arena system. So right now, the sprinkler heads are overspaced and the branch lines are too small to facilitate a compliant system. So where we stand today is we can convert the east side to a wet system, make it compliant without the addition of a remote FDC.
Because the flow test is adequate now,
The flow
basically, so we have enough volume.
have enough volume and pressure to convert the east side, and and that would just be the kitchen, the upstairs meeting rooms, and the archery
Yep.
area, and the mechanical room. Part of why we've done this exercise is we were hoping to find a local authority having jurisdiction that we could submit the plans to for approval. And we were unsuccessful in finding somebody local that would do plan review, which means we're gonna have to submit to the state for approval. My opinion is it's highly unlikely that the state's gonna allow a partially sprinkled building. Most likely, if we submit showing that we remove the arena system and convert the east side to a wet system, I suspect that would be rejected. We can certainly try.
So what, I guess this falls under the CFPD, right? Cortez Fire Protection
Yes.
District. And they actually have a fire marshal.
No.
I thought,
The city of
Sean
the
was-
city, yes, Sean is not
but he
associated.
doesn't,
with-
I thought he did all of the plans reviews for the CFPD.
Yeah,
Is that
he
not
does it for
correct?
the city.
It was my understanding that Sean was not interested in reviewing this project. I may be mistaken.
Okay.
That was my understanding too, and I just didn't know, I thought maybe the fire department had somebody that could. That was,
So that's my next question
Yeah.
is, why is the CFPD not doing it then?
I don't know.
that I don't know either. I know they got, let's see, they got new management there basically. So when we were doing our flow test the last time, they came out and seen us, and I thought they might have been willing to do it.
Because
I
it
don't
sounded
know
like the
that.
day we
Yep.
were, Commissioner Lindsay and I were out there with you guys getting ready to do that flow test, it sounded like the new, I guess he was the new chief?
Yeah, chief,
right?
or I
New
believe.
chief,
Or-
yeah.
So they have the appropriate credentialed inspector on staff?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a really good question.
I don't know either, and I can reach out to them and get them in contact, but I thought that's what they were saying.
Could Dowdy do this?
He can't because it's out of his jurisdiction. He would have the credentials, but he's not within his jurisdiction. He's only in Dolores.
Only in Dolores.
So he would be way out of his jurisdiction. This would be either the CFPD, and if Sean can't do it because he's only within the city,
I'm guessing that's the reason,
otherwise then it will have to go to the state.
yeah.
There's very specific credentials required in order to review the plans.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the key component, is if CPFD has someone on staff with those credentials, then we can certainly submit to them and they can perform the review. If not, then the request for technical assistance would have to be submitted to the state.
Okay?
I would venture a guess that that's where we're gonna have to go.
Probably.
And I mean, we've been at this quite a while.
Agreed.
I would suggest that we submit to the state with the wet-dry system and see what they say.
Okay, so submit with wet, eliminating the dry.
Yes.
Okay, we can certainly do that.
And then we obviously know the cost if we have to add the dry system, which would be the arena area. But kind of like what we asked Justin yesterday is if because I'll be honest with you, it doesn't make a lot of sense of sprinkling an arena. I mean, we're sprinkling dirt.
I agree.
The only time we have a fire load in there is if we have, 4 shows a year.
Yeah.
And we can still maintain a fire watch, which is still legal by the state,
guess-
24 hours.
We could put a rack of shovels out there.
Which is what we
fire
do.
extinguishers.
So I think, that would be my ask, is to go
Yeah.
ahead and submit it with just the wet
Okay.
system, eliminate the dry system, and see what they say. Because if that's the case, we don't have to put the remote FDC. We have to obviously change the east side of the structure to accommodate, to be compliant, but then we're 100% compliant, and this thing can get put to bed.
Yeah, agreed, and there's some significant budget
significant
savings.
costs to sprinkle an arena.
Yeah, well, and the scope that we won't perform on the arena will go back to the original budget, so,
Right.
yeah, we can certainly do that.
So that actually is good news, though. We have enough water, we have enough pressure. Everything is actually way better than what we were originally told.
Yeah, that's correct. We didn't realize that there was a main, so the two things that weren't understood by my team is that there was a master pressure reducing valve
Mhm.
and a master backflow preventer for the entire campus. So by adjusting that pressure reducing valve up, and the fact that we don't have to add another backflow.
So that would be one other question I have. If we go down this route and say, we're using that existing line and we're bumping our pressure, do we still need to put pressure reducers on all my other branch lines out there?
I don't know that target pressure off the top of my head. We've had so many iterations, but I can look at that. The answer, the high level answer is if we have to crank the pressure reducing valve above 80 PSI, that would trigger
Okay.
the requirement to install pressure reducing valves on all domestic sources.
Which is still a lot better than having to add a dry system over the
As
whole
far as
arena
costs
area.
go, yes, correct.
If we're 80 or less, per the Uniform Plumbing Code, a pressure reducing valve, or pressure reducing valve would not be required on your domestic sources.
Are you guys okay with submitting it to the state, getting a final ruling, and then we can make an absolute decision? That way we'll be back to being 100% compliant, and this building can finally go to bed.
Okay, be happy to do that, and I will double check with PFD to see if they've got somebody credentialed, and if that's the case, we'll submit to them versus
Okay.
the state.
Yeah.
Perfect.
State will be Plan B in the event they don't have
Okay.
proper credentials.
And then also too, when they were out there, CFPD, did they clean around that fire hydrant? Because
There was brush
we
and
kind of
stuff.
found it by accident. I knew it was there, but once I found it, I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't think so. I think it's still the same way it is. I don't think it's been cleaned up around it.
Can you guys get to that, clean up around there?
Yeah, we could do that.
Just to make sure that it's very obvious. I realize you're in CDOT's right away, but just,
That's all right. We can,
just get a hold of them and make sure
we
that
clean
you
up a
can-
little bit of other stuff in the right of way too, so we'll take care of that.
Can you cut a
It's no big
gate
deal.
into that fence?
Yeah, they can do that.
Yeah.
They can do that.
I wouldn't
So-
see that being an issue at
I
all, but.
don't know if we can put a gate in there. I don't know if that's our fence.
You can still ask.
Yeah,
You
I
can
think
That's what I'll have to do. Yeah,
Because it
I'll
would
have-
be their fence.
Uh-huh. Yep. But I'll look into it, so.
All right.
Okay,
Okay. So I guess that's how we will move forward.
Yep, let's get
Yeah.
it submitted and find out, let's get a determination, and then we'll make a decision based on, hopefully, they can see that it's just an arena, and with a fire watch over those 4 shows, or, well, they're gonna want a fire watch over all of them, because now we actually have a fire load inside the arena area.
Yeah, and we can actually put that into the plans too, correct? That you submit, that there would be fire watches.
yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. It would have to be a dedicated, so let's say you had a security guard on staff
Mhm.
to protect the vendors' booths. You would have to have a second person whose job was for fire watch.
Correct, and we can add that within the events
Mhm.
specifically, so that we are covered. But at least that way, we're compliant.
Okay.
Yep, I can add those notes.
Good with that, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay,
All
very
right.
good.
There you go.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Next, we have a decision or a discussion as it relates to the B1 Energy Letter of Support that we had a presentation on yesterday. Anything, I mean, Ian brought up a lot of good points. This is kind of to a private company, specifically B1 Energy, as it relates to a roadie recycling application and/or a permanent fixed station. Mel did come in and talk to us about this yesterday. this is kind of where the state is actually going to be pushing us, CDPHE, or moving toward it as far as recyclables. Right now, we take cardboard, we take paper, we take, I think, number 1 and number 2s, he said, of plastics, but they make them all the way down to number 6s in plastics, which we don't deal with just because we don't have any, we don't have anywhere to get rid of them. And it's costing us a lot more money to try and sort them and separate them than it's worthwhile. We're actually spending money, we're actually losing money doing that. So this is a presentation by B1 Energy. They have a cost associated with this machine, and is all they're looking for is a letter of support so that they could get on maybe moving forward with some of these renewable energy recycling roadies is what it was called.
Yeah.
So-
You know, I looked at this last night, rolled this over and over and over. I mean, it's no cost to us. We're not contracting to do anything with these guys. It's just a letter of support. And anything that we can do to lessen the load on our landfill at this time, I'm for. I mean, if we can divert some of this in, that's going in, we don't have to landfill. I'm ready to sign.
Well, some of the diversion rates, you know, I asked a question yesterday. I said, what is the diversion goal by 2030? And it was stated 32%. Right now, as a state, we're only at 15% as far as the diversion rate. So even though we're doing a lot more than most, our diversion rate is still not as good as it could be. So I don't have a problem with a letter of support either. Again, it ties us, there is no fiscal note to the county, and it doesn't tie us to anything. Commissioner?
Personally, I don't think this is obligating us to do anything as far as actual being in any kind of obligation to this company to do anything other than saying, you know, we're okay with them trying to get a grant to do this stuff. So I don't see a problem with it, personally.
And that's right, this doesn't obligate us to do anything. There's no obligation here.
Right.
We're basically endorsing
It doesn't
or
encumber
saying,
us
hey,
in
we
any
support
way.
what you're doing.
Go get them.
Go get 'em.
I move we sign this letter of support for B1 Energy out of Salida, Colorado, in their efforts to drive sustainable energy and renewable energy and regenerative practices related to recycling and waste diversion practices.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign a letter of support to B1 Energy. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next thing we have is a discussion related to the Fair Board member applications letter. The direction we gave you yesterday, Travis, was to go ahead and set up interviews. Sounded like we had 5 applicants and we have 2 vacancies, so,
I'll be reaching out to them today to get that set up.
okay. So we'll be doing some interviews to pick our next 2 applicants for the Fair Board. Next we had, Mr. Dobry gave a presentation. This came from our emergency management for a community wildfire defense grant. Basically, the end kind here would be around 20,000 to 80, or not around, but 20,000 to 80. And this, basically, the grant helps with the wildfire application anywhere within our community. Other questions on this one? Okay,
I move we sign the wildfire defense grant for the Montezuma County CWPP implementation project.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the grant application submission form for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we also had another grant that came in front of us yesterday for the Social Services Healthcare Policy. And this is basically for more hardening for security within the county, specifically downstairs, the doors, the windows, as far as hardening for security down there, and some door readers. We did have a few questions. They are changing from ballistic-proof glass to actual hollow metal doors, just because of the cost, and it still provides a level of security that's better than what we currently have down there right now. And this is a match, or has no match to it, and this is around $52,449. Any questions on this one, gentlemen?
No.
I move to approve this application submission form for Montezuma County Department of Social Services for security and a lump sum of $52,449.12.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to also sign a grant application submission form for social services, Montezuma County Department of Social Services, for security and hardening in the amount of $52,449.12. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then, apparently last week, do you want to bring Lynn in here now, or do we have?
We can, or I can just
Go
request the
ahead.
commissioners.
I'll let you go over this then, Travis.
So,
as
yeah,
far as
last
the-
week, we talked about the accrued sick leave donation, and staff is requesting that the commissioners rescind the decision and just do away with the program. We think that it would be better if, when we move forward with a different process, to discuss it at that time, and currently it's not compatible with the leave schedule or the employee handbook, and it's just, at this point in time, intangible to implement.
So I guess, something that was hit to us by staff immediately after we got done with this meeting was, and I don't know how this has happened, but a few of the departments didn't even know that it was ever even terminated, and we did that in, I want to say June.
Yeah,
June?
I'm pretty sure it was
We
June.
went through department head meetings to let everybody know that the pool was gone, and I'm still bewildered of how our department heads don't even know what's happening or going on, so.
As
I'm
far as the
almost-
handbook goes, it's easy to make
It's
it,
not
it's
the
easy to put it in the
handbook,
handbook.
It's,
I mean, that can be done very easily.
it's more that, the communication, I don't know, the letters are sent out, the emails are sent out. How is our communication not happening?
Well, our staff is communicating it.
Anyway.
What do you want to do?
Well, it just seems like it continues to grow, and we keep burdening this staff in here with more and more to do with less and less personnel. Because, I don't know, I thought we had a specific department head meeting to discuss this. Everybody was invited, I thought everybody was here. We then put it in a public meeting to go over it. The sick leave pool was, at that point in time, done away with. And we still have no communication because the department doesn't even know that it didn't even exist. So.
Last week, it seemed like we had a very reasonable solution. You can donate your sick
Until we
leave.
walked out of here, and then
Yeah.
that's when all the
Yeah, but
information started
We could
coming
simply
in,
move
so-
it forward from last week with the sick leave donation. I mean, if you're sick, I can donate to you, I can not donate to you, anything in between.
Here again, it's the tracking mechanism of just what was brought up last week was you have a department that doesn't even know it didn't even exist. So it's kind of two different things again. One was the pool, which we terminated in June, or somewhere in that time, after the department head meetings and all the discussions that we had. I don't know. It's a staff recommendation at this point in time. So that's really the question. Do we want to, what do you guys want to do?
It's this much, it's that much trouble for them to handle this thing, just do away with it. Be done. Just forget it.
I would so move we rescind our decision from last week on the sick leave pool and dissolve the sick leave pool at this time.
Sick leave donation. The
Sick
pool
leave
has already
donation
been
pool.
dissolved.
Yeah, donation pool at this time until we can realign and readjust and come up with something new if we can.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to rescind our decision of last week on the sick leave donations, and at this point in time, we will dissolve this, and it will go no further. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving along, natural resources, James Dietrich. We have a motorized grant letter of support in front of us, kind of what we do every year, it sounds like.
Yes, that's correct. I don't know if you have a fresh copy.
So yes, gentlemen, we do have a letter of support request from the U.S. Forest Service for a non-motorized grant distributed by CPW. This is something that they do request on an annual basis, and we've to the best of my knowledge, always given them a letter.
Questions? Anybody?
No.
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen, and get on with the rest of the report here. Did want to let the commissioners know I attended the BLM Southwest RAC last week up in Silverton and Gunnison. I rode up with Steve Garcher from Dolores County, so we had an opportunity to kind of coordinate on a lot of things on the way up there. I also did want to mention that the BLM picks up the lodging and transportation and meals and stuff like that, so it's no cost to the county. When we were riding back, we realized that we had a conflict between the CFLRP Projects and Places Committee meeting, which we're focusing on project work with the Montezuma County for wildfire reduction, and the BLM Big Game Management meeting. So what we decided to do is I took over the CFLRP meeting and Steve took over the Big Game meeting. So Steve reported out that, so they met with the BLM on that. And I guess it was a pretty tense meeting. Apparently Garfield County is pretty upset about the whole process and, you know, the potential outcome for everything also. So they've got, they've actually hired a consultant. They have somebody on staff that's working on this full time. You know, they have a lot at stake because of the oil and gas resources up there. And I think that's kind of the main thing that they're worried about. But they did mention that, you know, Dolores County and Montezuma County, we coordinated on providing input, comments on the plan, and we brought up the socioeconomic side of that. Steve said that most of the meeting was really kind of focused on socioeconomics, and that Garfield County appreciated you know, our input on that. So I think it just, you know, kind of illustrates that we're working together collaboratively on this issue with counties that have similar problems, and we're all doing our best to cover everything that we can. But it's a heck of a process, and they're also doing, of course, the sage grouse, and then Dolores County, of course, is going to have the travel management planning that's going on up there. That's already done for us, so we don't have to worry about it. But anyway, a lot going on with the BLM right now.
It seems that the socioeconomic side of all these rules and regulations and laws gets kicked to the curb a lot.
It does, yeah.
And it's supposed to be part of the process.
Correct, yeah. It impacts virtually everything the
It
BLM
does.
manages, you know, from recreation to oil and gas, timber resources, they don't have much of that, but some, grazing, you know, it's virtually everything. So, really, really important that they analyze that thoroughly. And of course, for my side of things, I attended the CFLRP meeting because a lot of what we'd done came through the CWPP, and this was all community generated input for these wildfire planning areas. And so we did meet with with our coordinating committee on that, and so we've got our areas pretty well defined, and they've been well defined for kind of a long time now. So our recommendation is to move that up to the CFLRP coordinating commission, and from that point, it'll be worked through a tool that we've created to evaluate how well projects align with CFLRP legislative language, because we have to meet that legislative language. So we've got some in Montezuma County as well as Dolores County that are well defined. The San Juan Citizens Alliance would like us to expand those areas to include areas for old growth recruitment. I don't see any problem with that. We can expand those areas and include them. It's kind of a small expansion. So we'll try to accommodate them with that. We do have them at the table, and the U.S. Forest Service was also at the table too. We can't talk about the Salter stuff. Everybody has to leave the room when we talk about Salter. But everything else, we seem to be getting more closely on track and getting this thing moving forward again. Then move on to the Pass to Mesa Verde for the segment B, the fairgrounds to Mesa Verde. We're closing in on the 90% review process. That's a CDOT review process. We've submitted the BLM application for access to their property, and that was one of the significant things we needed to get accomplished. I talked to Ryan Joyner. He was up there at the Southwest RAC meeting, and he says that he will try to do his best to expedite this process for us to get that permit in hand, because that is one of the requirements for the 90% review. He thinks that we should be able to expedite that, and of course they're complaining about lack of staff, and they've only got one realty officer for the entire Tres Rios, and anyway, so on and so forth. We all know that story. Hopefully it will get expedited, and we can get this 90% review set up quickly here. Also, the SLB land permit, they're not going to hold our feet to the fire on that one, it doesn't sound like, because they understand that there's a permit process in place, that we're assured of getting that permit, and they also understand that we don't really want to apply for any kind of a permit, because what we'd be doing essentially is leasing that land for the trail, and we don't want to do that before construction starts. For segment C and D, we're working with CDOT to develop an IGA to address the trail maintenance for when it's finally built. And of course, the concept has always been to, on the Mancos side, we coordinate with the town of Mancos, and on the Cortez side, we coordinate with the town of Cortez to accomplish whatever maintenance activities we're assigned to out there on the trail. Anyway, that'll be, it's in development right now, so I'll just bring that to the commissioners when we get that fully developed. It'll be an IGA, so we'll have to have a signature on that, and you'll be appraised of that before we ask for that. We've got an access issue with an ag access at the 160B intersection on the south side of the highway. And really what that does is it accesses a small portion of that field that's isolated by Chicken Creek. So it's essentially the west half of that field. Doesn't look like it's used a lot, and nevertheless it is a viable access. So we'll work with the property owner to see if we can find an alternative. It could be as easy as just throwing a culvert or something in Chicken Creek just to get them across to provide that access. Then the one that's kind of a little bit of a larger issue is we're working on two different designs that are on the corner of Road 38. That's where the Folk Art property is at there. And I think I've brought this up to the commissioners before. We've got one design option that'll keep that trail down lower. It's closer to the roadway, but it would necessitate a fairly substantial retaining wall, and that's going to be a fairly high cost. The other option is to move that trail further away from the roadway, just regrade that hillside there. It would eliminate the need for the retaining wall, but what it would do is that it would utilize the full area of the CDOT right-of-way. Currently, the CDOT right-of-way fence is in the wrong location. We've had surveyors out there to evaluate this, and they've staked out the potential trail location. It looks like it's probably 30 feet off. So Nevertheless, that is CDOT right-of-way. It is reserved for transportation projects. This is a transportation project. You know, I've talked to the landowner and told him that if, you know, if he had some evidence, you know, if he could provide some survey evidence that we're incorrect on this, by all means, we'll listen to him. And by all means, we'll try to do anything we can do to you know, mitigate the impact on his property,
So
too.
basically that fence, it's kind of right on that rise, right? Right on the rise on the corner
Right.
where the statues
Just
are?
that whole bank
Yeah.
goes up right there.
So basically you're saying move it over so that it goes over the top.
Well,
Instead
yeah,
of-
essentially, yeah. Now, that hillside would be graded back. One of his issues is visibility from the highway. Regrading that would do nothing but improve the visibility there. Actually, putting in that retaining wall certainly wouldn't obstruct visibility for his projects and stuff. He's got a lot of stuff that's set within CDOT right-of-way currently. If we choose to do the low-cost option and realign that fence line, then it would be on him to move all that, all of his displays and everything back. CDOT will give him the option of leasing that property if he still wants to use it. He can negotiate with them and get a lease for that property. Kind of an unfortunate situation, but you know, sometimes fence lines just go in the wrong place sometimes, and
That seems like a pretty palatable, in other words, then he wouldn't have to move anything. The little trail, well, I guess it's 10 feet, but wouldn't, you could wiggle it anywhere through there as long as it's in the right of way.
yeah, I
and
think we
not-
can, yes.
Not obstruct any of his, wouldn't it?
Well, it's not gonna bother his stuff if you cut that trail in there and put a retaining wall in there.
I don't think you have to
know,
put the
but if you
retaining
have to
wall.
move that fence back, he's gonna have to move a bunch of stuff back
Yeah, correct.
out of it.
That's what I'm saying, if they'll
Yeah.
let him lease it, it seems like
But I
a,
don't know, I haven't looked at that close, but there's not that much room between the edges, because that splits into two lanes going up that climb right there, so
Right.
that road's pretty over there close to the base. There's not much room from the base of the hill to the pavement.
That's correct, yeah.
so it's better to
Not
go on
much room
top.
there, so you'd either have to cut that bank back quite a ways and put a retaining wall all the way up through there, or move that fence back on top, one or the other. If you're just gonna go through there and have any,
Yeah.
if you put that close, right down there, that close to the highway, you're gonna be pretty close to the traffic.
That's
There's not gonna
correct.
be much
You're
space there.
basically right on the road.
So,
Right,
yeah,
that's
it's not-
correct, yeah. Plus, I do believe, and I'm waiting for the numbers on this. We need some evidence to back things up. But I suspect that the numbers are gonna come in, you know, substantially less for putting the trail up higher
Sure.
versus using that retaining wall. And I'm just venturing a guess that it's probably $250,000 or so. So it's, I'm thinking, you know, probably the upper alignment is probably the one that we wanna consider. And we're still not touching his property. It's all within CDOT right-of-way. He just feels like it's his property. He's been using it for, you know, 30 years or so, and so. Anyway, we'll do our best to work with him. We don't want to upset anybody, and his business is valuable to us. You know, it's a important business for Montezuma County, and we're going to do everything we can do to help encourage that business to stay and to do things that'll work well
Well,
for him.
I'm sure he thinks that's his property, because CDOT put that fence there.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
They put the fence there, he didn't.
that's right. Yeah.
They just put it in the wrong spot.
They just
did.
didn't put it in the right spot. It's not his fault. It's not his fault,
No.
but I don't know what that,
Right, but
legally, what that does.
the ownership is still the ownership.
Well, it's pretty clear where
Follow
CDOT
Colorado
comes
fence
down.
law, it's his,
Yeah,
so I don't
That's for
know.
the attorneys to figure out,
yeah.
not us.
Right-of-way stuff is pretty tough. If you're in the right-of-way,
Yeah.
you're kind of pretty much legally mandated to get out of it if you're asked to. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
And I think it's pretty clear where CDOT comes down on this. If we touch that fence, they say it's going back in the right place this time. So anyway, I'll bring more information
more to
forward,
come.
and we'll do our best to work
More
with
to
this
come.
gentleman.
I'm sure,
Those
more to
are
come.
tough, those are tough deals.
So
It's not-
also wanted to let the commissioners know we've issued the floodplain development permit so that we can cross Chicken Creek right there at the 160B intersection. We shouldn't touch floodplain on that, but we did issue them the permit just so that we can cover our bases on that. And we've also applied for the CDOT special uses and utility permit on the Manca side. That would be the entire length, and that would be the last one that we need, from my understanding, from CDOT, so that we can move this whole thing forward. And then Paso Mesa Verde Segment A, we've been in contact with the last two property owners that we need to work with. It's within the city limits, so we're also working with the city on this. Both landowners are open to discussion. One's got some concerns about trespass and issues like that. They're right behind the Baymont. So we're just looking at different routes of bisecting that property, and trying to figure out ways that we can through some of the design solutions we come up with, help alleviate some of the issues she's had with trespass. And the issue is that there's been some vandalism and break-ins at the parking lots behind the Baymont. And, she certainly feels like adding additional public in that area may compound that problem. But of course, there are other things we can do with fencing, lighting, things of that nature. And in some respects, actually have more public out there and more eyes on that may help alleviate that problem also. So anyway, we'll work with her to try to come up with some good
I think
solutions.
that's a good point that most people don't understand. It's just like out at Cache Canyon with all the dumping that we had out there. Now that there are so many people out there, it's pretty hard to go out there and illegally dump and not get caught.
Right.
So it actually works both ways.
Yeah.
It's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Or can be.
And people are very willing to report that kind of stuff too. If they see something that's not right, then more and more willing all the time, I think. Let's see, I've been also participating in the emergency evacuation modeling meetings. That's hitting legislation. They're trying to evaluate whether or not that's going to be something useful for all of us or not. The models that I've seen look like, if there's no cost involved and they're just providing with the county, it's probably not going to be that difficult to implement this and make maybe some headway with it. When we're looking at 1 or 2 lot developments, doing evacuation modeling just is not that significant in the decision factor on that. Nevertheless, we can look at it at a broader scale, and perhaps it'll be useful for us as long as there's no cost attached. It doesn't at this point raise a whole lot of red flags for any of us that have been participating. Also continuing to work with the Dwarf Collaborative. We'll be meeting this Friday to work on an after-action review for the Salter project. I think I've mentioned this before, just try to decide what we've done right and what we've done wrong and try to improve that process. And also the final thing is I'll be working on CWPP updates. We've been working on that for this month. So I'll bring those forward in a couple weeks and we'll have that finalized also. So that concludes my report for the day, unless we have any questions or anything else?
I don't, just,
Yeah, we need to do this thing.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
I move to sign this letter of support for the CPW motorized trail grants through the Colorado Parks and Wildlife for the Dolores Ranger District's motorized grant request.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of support for the Colorado, for CPW Motorized Trails Grant. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, James. Okay, Ian's next.
I really don't have a lot to report this week. Day-to-day phone calls and day-to-day business, but as far as our big civil cases go, there's really nothing going on at this point. We're just kind of in holding pattern.
Okay, very good. Travis?
Really busy week. Just wanted to follow up. The truck that's supposed to go to Dolores should be going to them fairly quickly. Sheriff's office had some vehicle issues. I think they hit some deer or something and had to get repaired. So Dolores will be getting their truck here fairly shortly. Met with Mountain States Employers Council for HR, get her just some training for next year. A lot of emails regarding MOUs and bylaws for the Fair Board. I reached out to ACCA, got some drafts, and submitted those to the Fair Board because I know that they're redoing their bylaws.
Can you forward that stuff to me, Travis, as well? I think it's always, if it's an MOU, I'm always happy to look at it and give suggestions as well.
Yeah, it was just drafts for them to kind of look at and see if they could part and piece what they wanted in there, so.
I'm certainly happy to help with that stuff too.
Sure, I'll send it on to you. Dealt with the access card reader discussion, fire suppression, getting ready for CCI that's coming up in November. I think I got everybody registered. So,
I think I registered myself. So we might check into that afterwards, see I'm not double registered.
I think he did himself and Gerald.
What?
I think he registered you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
and Travis got registered, so. I'm
And-
there. I registered myself.
So did I.
We're still working on the public safety sales tax. In fact, supposed to have a meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock to go over some information from people that's been there and done that, and hopefully get that on the ballot next year. So, last thing I have is just the payables. General fund total was $1,719,567.56. Road and Bridge, $1,428,147.05. Public Health, $283,193.48. Capital Fund total, $7,254.54. Administration Fund, $3,008.88. Landfill, $107,633. Check register total, $3,548,804.51. Social services, $1,254,676.97. Grand total of $4,803,481.48.
I move to approve the expenditures for Montezuma County for September 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2023 in the amount of $4,803,481.48.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the payables for the month of September for Montezuma County in the amount of $4,803,481.48. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, Travis. To my right.
Okay, it's kind of a quiet weekend like Ian had over here, but city council's tonight and looking at their agenda on there, they have a pretty light meeting also. So I won't report on that next week as I won't be here, and that's all I have.
All right, very good. Commissioner Copenhaver.
Yeah, I don't have much to report this week either, I've got several meetings this week here later in the week, but this last week I spent more time gathering cows and taking care of some personal things rather than county problems. So other than that, just a few calls and emails, and that's some of it.
All right, so mine was relatively quiet. Also, we did have some continued meetings here at the county with Travis and Phaedra looking over budget items. Went to the Dolores Community Center's banquet Saturday night. Had a lot of conversation with the people that were there. A lot of discussion over Prop HH, believe it or not. In person, I couldn't hardly talk, but I was able to get through all of that. Did go to their meeting last night. A couple of the ordinances that they did approve was their resolution 557, which was opting into Proposition 123, just as we have done. And then they also had a resolution they're going to try and purchase a backhoe from Wagner Equipment. Other than that, it was a pretty benign meeting. Pretty much just took care of day-to-day business at that meeting. The only thing that I do want to bring up is we've had in the past, and I'm not sure the average person realizes this, but the Board of County Commissioners are 3 elected bodies that basically run and have fiduciary oversight of budgets and in place of other elected officials. But we've had a lot of people come in here as if other elected officials are responsible to the constituency just like we are. So if there's an elected official that you feel needs to be addressed, obviously you can come in here and let us know, but they are an elected official which are subordinate to us, and we really can't do anything other than have a conversation with another elected official. So if you have issues with other elected officials, please take those inquiries or whatever you want to call them and try to get with those elected officials. Obviously, we'll listen to anybody, anytime, but there's just a lot of things that we cannot do as elected officials. They are your elected officials. So just wanted to bring that up. Obviously, we took care of everything today that we had in our presentation yesterday or our workshop. Again, one of the things that really concern me are diversion rates that we're going to start seeing at our landfill. Every time Mel comes in here, we're looking at rebuilding more cells, and pretty quick we're going to be out of real estate down there. The more cells we dig in the ground and fill up, the quicker we're going to be out of real estate. So the diversion rates that the state are going to be pushing down on us are going to be more and more. That's almost a 50%, well, it's a 100% diversion rate that they're trying to achieve by 2030, which is pretty aggressive. So I know everybody thinks that their trash just goes away, but it's a big deal for the county for us to deal with all of the landfill situations that we have down there. And that will conclude my report.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this October 24th, 2023 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.